If you hear me!
On today's Raw recap, Gunther defeats the Yeetmeister to become a two-time World Heavyweight Champ. We had insane King and Queen of the Ring qualifier matches, plus Cena and Punk in the same ring for the first time in over a decade. This is Holla if you hear me, and welcome back to another Raw recap. I'm your humble host, Fraz, and join me as always is the kayfabe assassin, Mr. Andi Nero. Round of applause. And the ring historian himself, Dirty Dave. Guys, you know the drill by now. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Yeah? We post wrestling content every week, and it is top draw. Well, some of it. Without further ado, though, let's get into it, gentlemen. Raw, as I have already said, possibly the best Raw of the year so far. Reminded me a little bit of a post-Mania Raw. Do you not agree?
At least everyone was there, which is more that can be said for Money in the Bank. But yeah, no, everyone was present. So good on you, Phoenix.
God, ever the optimist, Andy. Dave?
I thought it was brilliant. I agree with that. I think it was a post-WrestleMania Raw. But there's a lot going on. We're building to Night of Champions. We're building to SummerSlam. It's all about those stories of the summer. Not to mention Evolution 2. No, not Seth Rollins' new faction or name. I'm talking about the PLE for the ladies coming up soon. Mm-hmm. But yeah, packed house, lots going on, decent crowd. Phoenix is always pretty good, so they didn't let us down. It flew watching it. Which is always a good sign. Yes, it was raw.
It was raw, indeed. Where do you want to start?
It's got to be the title match.
Yeah, main event.
Who wants to have their first take on the title match?
Me?
And I. Go on then.
55 days, 4 letters, 1 word. Lost. What an embarrassment. 55 days as world champion for Jey Uso. I think only Kofi Kingston in this era. 51, apparently, according to Fraz in the private chat. 51 days. I think only Kofi had a near as short a time as champion as Jey. I think in the long term, what they're going to do is they'll probably put it back on him for a split second. At SummerSlam or whenever, and then Seth will cash in. But that's down the line a bit. That's a way away.
I was shocked because he's so over. That I was very, very surprised. But having said that, he was the top merch seller last year. He's making lots of money for the company before he was the champ. So he doesn't technically need to be the champ from a money perspective, which seems to be where TKO seemed to be going. But yeah, I love Gunther, but I was disappointed. I thought Jey would have a bit longer. It is a short reign, but at the same time, let's wait and see what the story is. Gunther is now a 2-time world champion, and it's nice to see someone new building up the numbers of reigns, not Roman.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Godwin is put in our private chat. Gunther equals Bret Hart.
No, greater than Bret Hart.
Oh, greater than Bret Hart.
What, on the mic? Because not in the ring.
In all things.
Absolutely not.
Look.
He reminds me of the Anvil.
Jey Uso's title reign was no different to old school Attitude Era title reigns. Shawn Michaels, when he came back, 30 days after being out for 4 years. It's not unusual. I just think that WWE fans that are used to Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns title reigns are used to longer reigns, aren't they? They're not used to this hot potato, as we like to say.
Well,
I'm slightly surprised at the fact that Gunther won, considering his first title reign was pretty mid if you're being objective about it. Other than the Bash at Berlin feud with Randy Orton, every one that he kind of fought was mid-card, and we didn't get the opponents that we wanted. So hopefully with this second reign, he will have matches against, your likes of CM Punk, Seth Rollins, maybe even Roman Reigns when he returns. Dream matches, Ilya Dragunov and AJ Styles, etc. And we got, when I said Ilya, obviously with the NXT connection there, they had some fantastic matches when he was Walter. But I do feel that this second title run will be short-lived. I do not think it will be as long as the first one. He's already called out Goldberg. I don't. The only annoying thing for me is that Seth is obviously got the briefcase. I would have said that he was going to cash in on Jey. Doesn't really make sense from a story point of view to go after Gunther.
He's got 12 months.
Yeah, but I do feel that the briefcase will be cashed in soon. I don't think that'll be a long-term thing. Especially if what you read online is correct and Triple H is not the biggest fan of MITB, and we've already sort of agreed with that. It's something that he'll probably get rid of by SummerSlam, if not at SummerSlam.
Well, I'll just say to that very quickly. I know I'm cutting you off, but I did put an X in a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've got to remember that he waited for Damian Priest until WrestleMania 41. So we're not far off, 9 months after winning. So I think he can wait. I think that it's difficult when you have a temporary champion who's not there very often. Everybody complains and everybody moans that the champ's not there and he's not defending the title. What's the point? And then you have Jey Uso, who's there all the time. The crowd reactions are phenomenal, bringing Raw alive. But just because he lost the title after 51 days, everyone's like, oh, he's a rubbish champion. And you're like, well, Kane held it for 24 hours. Austin had it for 40, 50, 51 days, very similar figure in 99 after he won it at WrestleMania 15. So are we saying he's a bad champion? No, absolutely not. This isn't the end of the story. This isn't the end of the journey. There's plenty of time. He'll have other runs, but he's so over. He doesn't need the belt anyway. So just enjoy it. But the Gunther thing, I'm not sure. I'm not sure where we're going. If we're going Goldberg, he doesn't need to be the champion for that. That's an attraction-based match anyway. I can't really see Seth cashing in on him because that doesn't make much sense unless he cashes in after Goldberg destroys him. The only horrible thought I have is that Goldberg's son might beat him for it, which would be horrific. But you never know.
That's not a prediction. That's a spoiler.
I hope to God not. If it is, I may have to quit this profession. Not that I'm getting paid for this, by the way. I'm still waiting for that check.
No, I agree with you 100%. I kind of thought what would happen was either Goldberg would interrupt or Seth would cash in if Jey was going to drop the strap. But Jey's title reign, for me, just created so many narratives. As I've said, week on week now, the guy is a workhorse. He's working 3 or 4 different programs with, various wrestlers on SmackDown and on Raw. Again, after the R-Truth situation, I am a little bit scarred by reading reports online. However, there were some reports and videos that I watched that Triple H was not happy with Jey Uso as the champ based on his mic work, which I have brought up and said that it was poor. For a world champ, his in-ring matches haven't been stellar, and if you're comparing Gunther and Jey Uso for match quality, there really have been much of a muchness. Arguably, the match on Raw was Jey Uso's best match ever in terms of ability. So yeah, I mean, who knows why? It could be a case that he's actually injured and maybe he's going to take some time off. I don't think we'll see him. I think it'll be a very similar situation to Cody Rhodes, and we probably won't see him now until up and just before SummerSlam, if not at SummerSlam. But yeah, it's very interesting in what they've done, and we'll only find out in the weeks to come what happens with him and Gunther.
I think just really quickly, because I know Andy's got his take, but the only thing I'll say to that is he's been in the company for 14 years. You know what you're getting with Jey Uso, so I don't follow that Triple H is upset with him, because you know what his mic skills are, you know what his in-ring abilities are after 14 years. He's not some new guy coming in. I think it's all part of the plan. I really do. And we'll just see where we go from that. I mean, there's how many people are on the roster that we love watching and enjoy watching, and there's only one champion. There can only be one champion, and the big stories have to revolve around the championship. So I think from that point of view, it clearly shows there's going to be some very important storylines with this championship over the summer.
I've got two things. I can't remember one of them actually now, bollocks. The first one being just the fact that I think what we can say is Jey Uso is most likely to win what will be the rubber match for the world title. Because this is it now. I mean, like, they've got 2 matches in the book for the world title. The third one will be the rubber match, and I wouldn't be surprised if it happens at SummerSlam and Jey will win. And as soon as Jey raises that belt above his head, you'll have Seth's music hit, and that will be the thing that immediately ends Jey's reign before it even starts. Seth wins the title, and then we can then build again Jey being the Jey going through some adversity to get back to the world title. You know, he may never do it. He may be a Kofi. He may be a lifelong mid-carder, but you can build that. There is an option there. You could build that. That's how I would go with it. And the second thing, I can't even remember now, so forget it.
Interesting. I do believe that Seth will cash in on Cena, and the other person that I believe Cena will be fighting at SummerSlam will be Cody Rhodes.
Sorry, I've just remembered the other thing I was going to say. I know it's out of order, but real quick. Triple H not liking Jey for his work rate and his mic skills. Vince would have been fine with Jey being world champion. Vince would have been absolutely fine with Vince. Vince would have loved Jey as world champion because of this. He wouldn't have cared about the in-ring content. He wouldn't have cared about the in-ring quality. He was making money as world champion. He'll continue to make money. But Hunter perhaps cares more about the in-ring.
No, I don't believe that. For one, I saw an interview with Natalia the other day where he basically said, and this is going to scare a lot of people, he basically said the matches mean nothing if the story's not right. And there's an interview, you'll see it comes out in September, where they go behind the doors or behind the scenes, where they're actually going to show you, clips from behind this. It's going to be a bit like the Bret Hart documentary, actually, where you see just people casually talking in the corridor. One of the clips is Triple H talking to Jey Uso, saying, "This is what we're going to do. I am going to strap a rocket ship to you and launch you this year." So no, I just don't buy that. I don't buy that at all. Like I said, we're talking about a guy who's been in the company for 14 years. His whole family's in the business. Triple H knew what he was doing, making him the champion. They're making loads of money off his t-shirts. He doesn't need to be changed. He didn't need to give him the title if he wasn't happy with him. I don't believe that at all. It'd be interesting to see how that pans out, but that's just my belief.
Yeah, without harping on about it, the proof is in the pudding, right? So Jey's promos that he's been cutting as world champion have not been great. The last 2 weeks on SmackDown, he's literally come out and said 4 letters.
Every fucking time.
Synonymous every week. Yeah.
Speaking of someone who can't cut a promo.
Well, this is why I'm not a WWE wrestler and why I'd be in WCW if we're back in the late 90s. 4 letters, 1 word. That is all he says. Now, I get what you're saying about selling merch and being over and stuff, but that's not world champion. And Triple H is a traditionalist at heart. Like you cannot take away the fact that Jey Uso does not have anywhere near fucking 4 or 5 star matches each week.
I agree.
You know, it's very rare that he has a good wrestling match, and it's very rare that he cuts a good promo. His best promo since being the champ was after his brother Jimmy Uso got destroyed by Gunther. Now, it's not beyond the realms of possibility here that he's made a mistake. That's all I'm saying.
Oh yeah,
and us assuming that, you know, because he's strapped a rocket ship. Like you can sign Darwin Núñez for £80 million for Liverpool and think he's going to be the greatest striker of all time. Well, guess what? After 18 months or 24 months, whatever it is, he hasn't performed. You've got to get him out of the first team, which Arne Slot has done.
It's a bit close to the bone, that one. I'm not disagreeing. I'm not saying he's been the best champ. What I'm saying is this should be no surprise to anyone who works in that company. If anything, the surprise should be that if you're not happy with his ring quality and his mic work building up to being a champ, why would you make him the champ at your biggest show of the year? But they don't need to. They don't need to. He was making all the money anyway.
Yeah, well, they probably made even more money by putting him as the winner of the Rumble, lead up to WrestleMania, being the champ. Yeah, it got heavily slated, didn't it? But you only have to look at his entrances since winning the title. They've tried to change it, haven't they? They've tried to make him more over than possibly could be by having him touch kids. Sorry, not touch kids. By having him interact with children in his entrance.
You would whoever your champion is. Whenever there's a champion, they tweak them some way, shape, or form, and I mean, it's the famous Kevin Nash thing. I just don't buy that. Someone else could have won the Rumble. Someone else could have had the push. Someone else would have then made money. You know, this is a machine. This is not the business hasn't run off getting one person over since 2001. So it's all about the WWE umbrella. They make money. It doesn't matter who they push. You telling me Gunther's going to make them money as a champion? No, heels don't tend to make them money. So that is not the only reason you give someone the title. I don't buy the fact that they're surprised or disappointed in him. I mean, look at Eddie Guerrero. People were saying this in 2004 that he'd let the side down and that he was a low-drawing champion on SmackDown, and that's why he only had the title for 2 months. And then they gave it to JBL for almost a year, and the ratings went through the floor. So it's not. There's stuff going on. And I just don't buy all the hate and the negativity. You know, he's not my type of wrestler at all. I shouldn't be defending him because he goes against pretty much everything that I like. But all my point is, if anyone should be surprised, we should be surprised they made him the champ. Not surprised that after working in the company for 15 years, they've decided after 50 days he's not good enough. That's not long enough. So they clearly know what they were doing.
Each to their own, you know, like I'm not discrediting what you're saying, but I do think that if you make a decision and then you give someone the ball and you put the spotlight on them and they don't perform, there is nothing wrong with them turning around and going, actually, you haven't performed to the expectations. It's like making you the manager of, you know, whatever it is you do for a profession, and then you don't perform. They go, actually, Dave, that was a wrong decision there. We're going to put you back to where you were. I'm not saying that Jey Uso is now going to drift off into mid-card obscurity, but there is an element of, you know, what the reports are out there. And I will just, last thing on this situation, IWC crying about Gunther being a crap champion, Jey Uso being an even worse champion, and now they're all celebrating the fact that Gunther is now the champion again. It's just hilarious, isn't it? But yeah, like you say, they've got plans. I still think, going back to the R-Truth situation, they seem to be booking week by week at the moment. There doesn't seem to be a very bit. They're probably 1 or 2 long storylines at the moment, but you know, it'll be interesting to see what they do. Put it that way. Anything else?
The only thing the last little thing I wanted to add to that whole Jey Uso situation is the last thing from me is that they do need the money, because if you actually, when you read the reports that are coming out online, TKO are in the mire. They are literally filling every empty space of TV time with some kind of sponsor or sponsorship or something. Jey Uso was a huge moneymaker for those 51 days, and that's all they needed him for. They've made the money. He hasn't performed. I love Jey Uso. I think he's excellent, but he's not a very good wrestler. Let's be honest. He's a good wrestler, but he's not a very good wrestler. He's not a very good mic worker, but he makes a shit ton of money, and he has made a shit ton of money for him, and that's all they needed. Next, you know what I mean? Like next down the line, we'll see what happens. Seth is going to make him more money in the long term, so. There you go. But TKO are apparently, according to reports, in a lot of debt.
Well, if TKO are in a lot of debt, then someone selling a few T-shirts isn't going to save them. They need a much bigger strategy and plan, and having anyone as a champion for any period of time is not going to fix their financial woes by any stretch of the imagination. It's not 1997. We're not a private company where selling loads of T-shirts is going to change the fortunes of the business. I get what you're saying. I just don't buy it. I just don't buy that they don't like him. And if anyone's let him down, it'd be creative, not him, because this is someone who you know what you're getting because he's been there so long.
He was cutting better promos back then than he was since he's been the champ. It's a fact.
Which is a curse. I mean, look, this happens a lot. Champions have to be... Face champions have to be happy, smiley, high-fiving kids, and everything has to be great. It kills champions. It's done it loads of times. People wanted Shawn Michaels to be a heel champion. Diesel should have stayed heel. There's even to your point, Andy, Brett was a better champion when he was a heel than he was when he was a face. Everybody knows that. I just don't think that's new. The only person who's ever been a face, there's been two face champions who behave in heel manner and it worked, and that was Hogan and Austin. They just don't do it with everyone else. Everyone else has to be whiter than white, sweeter than sweet.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Jey Uso recap show. And I am now getting a phone call. Hold on, let me disconnect that. Yes, so let's move on to the opening of Raw, which I'm sure excited most people that watch wrestling back in 2011, 12, etc. CM Punk and John Cena. Wow. Andy, you asked for CM Punk on the mic, and you got that. You certainly did.
Got him. Yeah. I thought Cena was pretty good with his opening. I thought the cold opening being John Cena was cool. 19 dates. That's all we got left, people. 19 dates. That's not a lot, really, is it?
Thank God.
And when you think one of those dates is going to be in Saudi, so there's going to come a time somewhere in those 19 dates where he realizes that he needs to turn back face. Like they'll turn him back face before he's got like 5 left. But yeah, I think Punk came out, gave him a bit of a dressing down. It was very circa 2011 in the lead. Everything, in fact, almost Punk said was a mirror image of the Pipe Bomb promo. So I enjoyed that, as it's probably one of my favorite promos of all time. Just a good segment all round. I'm not particularly buzzed for the idea of them fighting in Saudi. I think it's Saudi. No one's going to give a fuck in Saudi. They don't care. So, and I don't care about Saudi. But that's me that's about the most least diplomatic thing I could possibly have ever said. But there we go.
I think I agree, to be fair. It was interesting. It was 2011. Roles reversed. I'm not a big Saudi PLE fan, ultimately, because they're bought shows and most of the fans don't really care. And that kills it for me. I like crowd interaction. When you're sitting watching it at TV, you need the emotion from the crowd to really sell it. Otherwise, you might as well go back to COVID. But I did like how fired up CM Punk was. I think one of the criticisms that we've had is that Punk hasn't said a lot recently. And one of the things I said was, that's fine for me, as long as when he says something, it really means something. And bang, he came out and absolutely roasted Cena and nailed this opening promo. And that was everything I've missed from Punk. And that's an example of why I don't want to see it every week. I probably thought it was more impactful because I hadn't seen it for a few weeks and I hadn't heard him talk like that for a while. So I really liked the opening promo. I really did.
Well, it's an iconic feud, right? Everyone's gonna buy into this. Old heads, new heads. Cena's tweet later that night was fantastic. Don't know if you saw it. It's a picture of The Miz and Samoa Joe referring to what CM Punk said to The Miz, which was... So I'm going to say it anyway. When do I never not say it? Why don't you go and suck a Saudi blood money covered dick? Basically alluding to the fact that why are you going out to Saudi and Cena? I think Cena has suggested Saudi as part of the storyline to ruin wrestling, like questioning his morals and how much CM Punk actually wants to save wrestling. Well, you know, he's willing to go out to Saudi, which he publicly slated many years ago, to go out and fight Cena to try and win the title. And CM Punk himself even said it in the promo, didn't he? Like, you know, when I've got this belt, I act differently, or it changed me as a person. It's interesting. I am all for it. I disagree with Andy and yourself in terms of Saudi. I love the events out there. They're big. They put lots of money behind it. Okay, if you're talking from a standpoint of the crowd and whether they're as wild as European crowds or even US crowds, yeah, absolutely not. But, you know, Night of Champions is going to be fantastic. There's going to be some brilliant matches. And when you're sitting at home, you're going to enjoy it regardless. Like, you cannot tell me that CM Punk and John Cena for the world title is not going to get you excited. David?
Yeah, I just think it'll be wasted there. That's the problem. I don't think I'll get as much enjoyment out of it as I did their match in Chicago, for example.
Beggars can't be choosers, though, right? You know, should have been at Money in the Bank. It could have been at SummerSlam, but we're going to get it.
But to your point, I think it was very interesting that John Cena didn't just say, he said, "You're going to have to come to Saudi," because so it is definitely part of the storyline. Just to agree with you on that. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that will play into it. I like the King of the Ring, Queen of the Ring, so that gets my buy-in. I'm excited. I'll always be excited about the matches. It's just we say it about Raw. If they're in a bad arena where the crowd aren't into it, it absolutely kills the show. And I just find that is the case in Saudi. Well, it didn't used to be. But all of a sudden, the last couple of years, they've ended up in small little arenas, bought shows. Crowd don't really know what's going on. It's just a bit blur. And for 3.5 hours to sit through, or sometimes 4 hours, it's just a bit of a chore. I may have to go and slap my dog immensely hard and get a call from the RSPCA if he does not stop barking.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all that needs to be said about John Cena and CM Punk. Let's talk about one of the highlights of Raw. One of the many highlights, but one of my highlights. Becky Lynch. Chicken shit heel. Dave, you alluded to the fact that you do not like Becky Lynch. However, last week she did perk your interest in terms of being this deranged, disillusioned person who's questioning her character. I thought she was fucking excellent. The fact that she was saying that Lyra dislocated her shoulder when she raised her arm, and she asked her politely to wrap the belt around her, and then said that she tried to kill her afterwards. I mean, seriously, this is brilliant from Becky Lynch. Possibly best work of her career. And I know you'll agree with it, Dave, because you're interested. And then, you know, the greatest bottom in WWE of all time appears from nowhere and attacks Becky Lynch.
Oh, I thought you
Bayley.
were talking about Ludwig Kaiser.
No, absolutely
different
not.
from the
It's got about as much bottom as I have. Yeah, I thought it was a brilliant segment leading on from a really good match on Saturday. It really has perked my interest over the last few weeks. It's going to be a triple threat, I hope. Lyra's great, Becky's great, Bayley's great. I'm in for everything that they're doing right now. And the purple hair. Jeez.
Well, I'll be quick, but yeah, I think I'm very impressed with Becky Lynch, and I think that she's continuing what I said last week. She's going to extremes. You know how like you say, she's dislocated my shoulder, and she tried to kill me when she put the belt around me. So she's still playing the mental card, slightly unhinged, over exaggerating, shall we say. And I like that because you never know what she's going to say or what she's going to do, or her interpretation of what's happening. I'm finding quite enlightening, and I think it's almost like she's been let off. I won't say let off a lead. She's not a dog, but she's definitely been given a lot more freedom to just be heel Becky. Everybody says it's more fun being a heel. I think you can see she's loving this because she hasn't got a specific agenda. She's got her own idea, and yeah, well, first time since I've ever seen her wrestle. Back in NXT days that I've actually liked watching her. So yeah, she's got me invested. So it's probably not what she should have done because she's a heel. So she should get me to hate her, but actually I like her. And yeah, triple threat match. Bayley's back. I thought she looked awesome. Again, if you catch our Money in the Bank prediction and recap show, you'll probably see that we all thought she might come back at Money in the Bank. But yeah, this is heading to Evolution 2.
Yeah.
Triple threat match for the Intercontinental title. 2 of the most decorated women in WWE history in the modern era for women's division in there with, a fantastic up and coming former women's Intercontinental champion.
Yeah, I can't really say much more than that, to be fair. I mean, my only note, if you want to call it a note, was I thought Lyra, when she came out, looked absolutely stupid with her. She looked just so stupid, like cringe, but that's just me being mental. Becky, yeah, just being piggy, fickle. Becky's promo was good. Bayley being back was excellent, and shout out to my little boy Jacob, who absolutely loves Bayley and is obviously a man of great taste. But he was like, "Bayley's back! I can't wait to see Bayley. Listen to her music; it's playing." I was like, "Yeah, I can hear it, mate. I'm loving it." And he was jumping around the living room like a crazy person this afternoon when I was letting him watch it. So yeah, he loves it. But yeah, I'm glad to see Bayley back. I think Bayley is everything. So yeah.
Well, let us
she wins.
nicely into. Oh, sorry, Dave. You go.
I know. I was just very quickly going to say I think Lyra suffers from the same thing that quite a lot of people do, but especially Becky did. I just don't find them as a face. I find them somewhat disingenuous, not on purpose. It's almost like they struggle to act face. She's been told to walk out in like a upset, stroppy way, and I just don't think she can do it. So it'd be interesting. I think she'd make a better heel. Because I think she's very Becky-esque, but that was just a little sub-pont to Andy's. I completely agree. She looks stupid walking out. Next.
Well, literally within seconds of Bayley's return, R-Truth jumps onto the table and cuts his own dreads.
Not R-Truth. Get it right. His name is not R-Truth.
This led me on to what I was going to say, which was he shed his skin and turned into Ron Killings. Yeah, I mean, power promo. I thought it was really good. Cutting his dreads, turning into Ron Killings. He is obviously now a serious character, or that's what they want us to believe. I don't think there's going to be any more of this happy-go-lucky R-Truth. I do think that it's going to be one last run with Cena, and then he will drift off and possibly mid-card, if that even. And you can't blame him. He's in his 50s. Very clever move to get our WWE to agree to drop the R-Truth name and become Ron Killings. Obviously, he's going to now make a shed load of cash, whatever he does, WWE, or when he decides to leave. He's just going to try and make that name famous, isn't he, and make as much money as he possibly can. But, yeah, I thought it was a bit weird him cutting his hair on the commentary desk, but other than that, it's not really much to say for me.
I thought it was I thought it was really good. To be honest with you, I was a big Ron Killings fan in TNA. I watched quite a lot of TNA when I was younger, and yeah, he was excellent when he was more serious. I never particularly liked R-Truth. I never hated R-Truth as a character. I just never took it seriously, especially with that 24/7 bullshit. I didn't hate it, but it was filler. But Ron the Truth Killings, as he was called back then, was someone you paid attention to. He was NWA TNA champion, I think, twice, and was always, for the most part, unless he was like dealing with Road Dogg and stuff, but he was more often than not involved in high-profile feuds with people like AJ Styles, JEFF, JARRETT, amongst other people. So, yeah, I have high hopes for this little run.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting. We just need to enjoy what we're going to see. So he's gone from R-Truth back to Ron Killings, and hopefully at some point we see K Quick before he retires.
Or Road Dogg.
Let's get rowdy. Speaking of rowdy, we need to speak about this amazing King and Queen of the Ring tournament, surely.
Indeed. Women's match first. Rhea. I thought she was going to win, Andy.
Yeah, so it was Rhea, Roxy, who else was it? Liv and Kyrie, wasn't it?
Kyrie Sane, yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I thought they would, because the King of the Ring, if they had the two established stars go over at Money in the Bank like they did, King of the Ring is where you build your next star. And that was always going to be Roxy in that match. I think Roxy is really, really good. I think we're all sleeping a bit. I think everyone is sleeping on Roxanne as a threat on Raw, because obviously she's lumped in with Judgment Day at the minute. I tell you what I did love. I loved the little flash of teamwork that her and Liv put together. They were really crisp. They were really, really well oiled machine there. But
sorry, just calm me down there.
Pardon me. But yeah, no. So no, I think Roxy's the way to go there, personally.
Yeah, she obviously is amazing, and I am all for a Roxy push on the channel. We have been singing her praises. I do think that this is going to be a bit of a platform for her this year. I don't think we'll see her winning a title or even fighting for the title until the latter or early part of next year. I do think that Mangill and Charlotte Flair will be in the final of the women's thing, but it was a great match. Liv Morgan was great, as always, and again...
Carried the match, actually.
Yeah, one of my points this week was the promo with Nikki Bella. I thought she was fantastic in that, but that just goes to show that Liv she's a workhorse and she can do anything at the moment. But yeah, Roxy's amazing. As I said to you guys in last week's show, technically one of the best on the roster at the moment, and it is all about this whole Judgment Day thing, and I think that will consume her leading to the latter part of the year. I don't think she'll win.
No, I think storyline wise, Liv will probably cost her, won't she, in some way, shape, or form, because that's her storyline at the moment. Having said that, I'd love to see her face Io Sky, but I think that's later down the road.
Yeah, 100%.
I'd be more happy for them to get rid of Raquel and make Roxy and Liv the tag champions. Personally, I think they were brilliant. But even if it's just a short-term thing, that's the way I'd go with it.
Always remember, is Liv being played or is Liv playing?
Exactly.
I have a take on that. I think that Nikki, everyone thinks that it's going to be Liv and Nikki, but I think it will be Nikki and Rhea against Liv
Roxanne.
and Raquel
Or
for
Liv,
the
yeah.
title, for the tag titles at Evolution. You've got one other tag team, which is the Hervis, whatever.
Service,
they are.
service.
Dear
Yeah,
God, no.
Hervis Service.
They'll be on the pre-show. They won't even make the main show you watch.
Exactly. So they're the only other tag team. Either that or EO and Kairi Sane. But
No, because they've split Damage Control up. So, mind you, Asuka
We
is
keep
back
staying together.
next week.
Yeah, can I talk about that for a second?
Mm.
She's not wrestled for over a year, and they've just colded it. They've not built her up in any way, shape, or form. They're not doing it as a surprise. There's no build to it. It's just, here's Asuka.
Well, they did do a specific
Little
promo
video
for her,
package,
didn't they? Yeah. But I agree. They should have definitely left that as a surprise. They've done it with the guys one, haven't they?
Well, I think
they're like mystery entrant.
I think the guys one is a mystery, yeah. But you know what? Okay, it's really difficult. We're critiquing everything, aren't we? Which is what we do. But last week we're coming off, as Andy said, the lowest rated Raw since WrestleMania. Now they're advertising and bulking up their show for next week, and we're saying, oh, could have done that better. It's hard. You know, they're going to give us one major surprise in the men's qualifying match, and they're bringing back a former, women's champion that had an amazing undefeated streak, with a bespoke music video package. Well, yeah, I suppose we could have done it better, but I mean, I'm interested to see what she does. It didn't say that she was in the Money in the Bank, the Queen of the Ring match. Sorry, so we don't know what she's going to do. So that's still going to be a surprise.
She is. Yeah. They've announced the whole.
They've
They've announced all four
she was
matches,
in the bracket.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think she was in the bracket.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that was my biggest problem with it.
So who do you think is going to be the mystery guy then?
Hold on.
Well, there are rumours.
Yeah, I know. We've all got the
From
Right.
Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Mm.
Who's that?
Mr.
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Yeah, apparently so.
What?
Kennedy.
It's for a one-night deal. That's what people are saying, but it's
He was on
bullshit. It's
Chris
never going to
Van-
happen.
I was going to say. I mean, fucking hell.
He was on Chris Van Fleet the other week. And
Oh wow!
he
So was
saying-
Gene Snitsky as well this
Yeah,
week.
no,
but,
he was just saying how much he'd like to go back and how much he'd
I mean,
prefer
you
the-
guys are fucking smoking some
product.
quality dope over there that I
I
need
didn't
to
say
get
he
hold
would
of.
come back, did he?
Well, I mean, if that's your number one suggestion,
I didn't say it was my number one suggestion. I just said it's a suggestion that's been out there on the internet. I didn't say it's
well,
the
you
one.
just said, who do you think is going to go on? He said Greenbow, fucking whatever it is.
No, he said Mr.
Massachusetts.
Kennedy as well. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
'Cause I knew what he was talking about.
That is the most ridiculous take I've ever heard. Hot take of all time.
Let's find the person on the internet who wrote it, and we'll tell him. Send him an email. Say, look, mate.
Well, no, I'm telling you guys because
Was it Wrestle Talk by any chance? Or was it Rajar?
No, I've read that it's Ricky Saints.
What?
Yeah, I've read that it's Ricky Saints because he's dropped the title. They're going to bring him up, him or Karrion Kross.
Sorry. Gene Snitsky absolutely fucking killed me.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Killed that
Karen.
baby,
I'd be
didn't
down
he?
for Karen.
The
I'd be
baby
down.
around.
Fuck's sake. I'll be down for Karen. Ricky Saints, I think it's too soon. Oh,
Not good-
maybe.
not good.
No, I think there's more chance of Ricky Saints featuring in that match than there is Karrion Kross. I'm sorry to say this for all the people that love him, but he is getting released big time.
I'll
They're
just
running
say,
his contract down. He is gone.
I'll just say
If
that
they were going to do something, they would have done something by now.
Probably. Yeah.
just
but
clarify
yeah, the
that
men's-
I'm not going down on any of them, Andy.
The men's match. Did you
said
think that's...
you said you're down with Karrion Kross. I'm just clarifying that I'm not going down on any of them.
And 45 minutes into the video, and we're halfway through the show. The men's match. Did you guys think that Sami Zayn would come out victorious here? Dave's muted his microphone and spoken to his wife. Tell that dog to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, Kate's gone out to pick Alfie up, which means my dog is controlling the house over my mum. So, but sorry, what was that last segue?
So
Sami
I was
Zayn.
basically saying that Sami Zayn, predictable pick as it's in Saudi, being my Syrian brother, being so he is super over at the moment.
Great
I
match.
still, yeah, fantastic match. I would have preferred to see either Braun or Penta or Dom win that, but it does make sense. You're talking about the crowds being pretty dull in Saudi. That is going to get them off their feet.
Massively.
Yeah,
And I do think that he will get to the final, and he will probably come up against the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and Cody will win.
Well, possibly, but
I think Cody will win. I think there'll be heartbreak for Sami, and I think Sami will probably go on and win the Royal Rumble in Saudi in about 6 months. That's not a bullet to the head. Cody Rhodes and John Cena is money. It's what I want to see at SummerSlam night 2.
I think he'll probably turn heel.
Yeah, that's what I say. I think Sami will snap. Yeah.
Mm.
I think Sami will snap and attack Cody afterwards.
Mm.
But yeah, that's what I think will happen. I wasn't disappointed. I thought the most interesting part was LA Knight coming out and stopping Braun from winning, which I think probably makes sense because LA Knight is now 3 Money in the Banks lost, nowhere near a main event scene, has fought everyone he possibly can on SmackDown. It's about time. Well, they're not going to do a draft, are they? So it's about time that he comes on to Raw.
The draft should be after SummerSlam, I think.
Yeah.
And I mean, he could win the King of the Ring, or he could fight Braun Breaker at SummerSlam in a high mid to high end match. I mean, we've got a 2-night SummerSlam card we've now got to build, so you've got to look at what he's an attraction wrestler, an attraction match. Well, I could see it.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed in that, but
what if Braun beat LA Knight at SummerSlam? That'd be huge.
I just wouldn't like to. I'm not interested in that match.
Not yet, because they haven't built it.
No, but CM Punk is there, isn't it?
CM Punk will be doing something else.
Or I'd like to see Braun and Bronson Reed, if you checked out our video last week, them going for the tag titles.
Who said that?
I did, and then you agreed.
I think you'll find I said it.
I think you should watch our videos very closely, David. I go on many dog walks and listen to all our stuff all the time.
You go dogging and listen to our videos.
Okay,
Moving
gentlemen.
on swiftly.
Yeah, this is getting really long in the tooth. The only thing I wanted to say was Wade Barrett was fantastic. What a brilliant change it was to see him on commentary instead of Pat McAfee. Other than that, I do believe that we've covered most things noteworthy on Raw. Other than the Chad Gable match, unless you want to talk about that, which AJ Styles is clearly going to go after Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah, I just, nothing really. The only thing I wanted to mention was obviously Nikki Bella coming out, or Nikki Bella backstage with Io Sky, making very, very strange, making Io make very strange comments, and then the people in Phoenix crying over Nikki Bella. I mean, what the hell are these people smoking? But hey, some people like Nikki Bella. I am not one of them. But moving on.
I love Nikki Bella. Magic.
Wow, there you go.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Raw Recap. Thank you for tuning in. Share, like, subscribe. Cheers, bye.
Cheers, bye.